Hi, so I'm working on this garbage truck data, this GPS application, and I have some questions because I'm not getting what I would expect. So let me describe to you the symptom. This is really for Numenta research engineers to try and help me understand what I might be doing wrong in configuring this project. All right, so I'm going to show you one truck's data. This is truck 60. And as I show tracks, so the first thing I notice is that's different than normal is this is Monday, and the first points in this track are higher anomaly scores, but it very quickly goes green all over the place. So I mean, it's navigating around in space that it has never seen yet. It's all green, so that tells me something's odd. And if I go down and start looking, and I'll just sample some other Mondays, all green, pretty much all green. And as we get down near the end of this, because this is almost a whole year, there's no anomalies at all, basically, on any of these tracks in the last like 6 months of the year. And I've even run a script to find how many points in each track are above an anomaly threshold of 0.1. And as you can tell, after about 50 tracks, it drops to hardly anything. So it's really finding this track 109 has 28 anomalies above zero point 0.1, but I went and looked at it and it was nothing. And that I could tell anyway. But I would expect, since these, all these tracks, and this isn't all of them, it's skipping a bunch where there's just no anomalies. And almost every single one of these cases that I think I would safely say in every one of these cases after the halfway mark, the 1 point or 2 or 3 or handful of points that it finds above the anomaly threshold of 0.1 are the first points in the sequence. So I don't know how to interpret that, but I know that from looking at the routes, if I go down here and look at this Tuesday, for example, and dive in and look at some of the details of this, and then plot the previous Tuesday, you can see that it's different. The Tuesdays are not always the same. The one before that is also not the same as this last Tuesday. So either there's different drivers or just taking slightly different routes, but I would expect that I would see those when someone takes a slightly different route. I would expect to see a higher anomaly score, but I'm not. And so I suspect that it has something to do with the, it may be, the first route I plotted went green so quickly and stayed green the whole time. It's got to be something odd here. So let me explain to you, now that you've seen kind of the symptoms that I'm seeing, maybe I can explain what I'm doing. So first, I'll take a look at the model params. So here's the model params that I'm using. It's here's the encoder for the geospatial coordinate encoder. N of 2048, W51, scale 5, I believe that's meters. Time step is 10. So I can easily change this and experiment with other values. And also I'm adding time encoders programmatically. I'm adding a time of day encoder and I'm adding a day of week encoder. So those are also getting added to those model params before they're executed through NuPic. And as far as sampling, I decided based on conversation at our stand-up the other day to not sample at all. So these are raw points. These are the exact points coming out of the trucks. I'm not taking any samples. You can see it's quite detailed. You can tell pretty much everywhere it stops. Obviously there's a stop there. There's a stop here. There's a stop here. So we've got quite detailed routes going on here. So that's where I'm at. So I need to figure out and by the way, running this one truck's data, which was over 400,000 points over the course of a year, segmented into basically daily tracks, daily sequences. And each sequence, as you can see, this one had 2,038 points, this one had 1,900. So, somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000 points a day. So that's the data that we're dealing with here. Each one of those, I'm assuming, is a sequence. I'm resetting in between each one of these different tracks and starting over. So I would expect us to recognize the weekly patterns of the trucks, and be able to identify when someone goes off course after it's learned the typical Monday pattern for a truck, for example. And I'm just not seeing that with my current setup. So I'm looking for suggestions, how to change my model parameters. Maybe I'm not using the scale or correctly for the encoder, geospatial coordinate encoder. So I'm using scale 5 times step 10. These are pretty much 15-second intervals. Let me take a quick look and we can see, for example, truck 60, which is the one that I'm looking at. And I'm using truck 60. That's too big. I'm using truck 60 because it's Jed told me that it was anomalous, like something happened. So I'll just look at the output. But so these look like at second intervals, 29, 30, 31. So it's kind of inconsistent, these points, but you can see there's 9 seconds between this, 5 seconds between this. So the intervals are not regular. I don't know if that matters. Like there's 3 seconds here, there's 16 seconds here, there's 12 seconds here, or 2 seconds. So the intervals are not regular. Maybe that's something that I should correct for. I assume not, but anyway, looking for some ideas on maybe how we can make this perform better. That's it. Thanks.